Hello and welcome back to the Monsters of Monster Hunter Double Cross, where today we are playing with Zinogre, the flagship for Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, and until Monster Hunter World comes out, the only species of fanged wyvern there is. Which is kind of an interesting distinction. The question is where... There it is. Do I have another one? I mean, I do, with friends, so I guess we're doing this one. And it's in the Misty Peaks, which is great, because I love... wait, no. That's the deserted island. Icons are slightly similar. Close in color, if nothing else. Yeah. Deserted island, so not where it actually originally showed up, but certainly in a place. And I've already got my items set up, so let's go. So, interestingly, not that I'm going to be able to show it because I didn't bring bug nets, though I guess they might have some in the item box once items show up, but I'm not going to bother. Zinogre, like Uragon, is one of the monsters that can be gathered from when knocked down. You can use a bug net to get things like Fulgur bugs and Thunder bugs from it, because those are actually the source of its electric abilities. And I've put down this shock trap just to show off one of Zinogre's unique features. It actually eats shock traps and uses them to charge its energy. So now you can see that the Zinogre is already a little bit more charged up than it had been before. And incidentally, a Zinogre cannot be caught in a shock trap once it's fully charged. So you have to discharge it if you want to get it trapped in another shock. And Thunderlord Zinogre just straight up can't be caught in a shock trap. Not that that is going to be anything that we're going to be dealing with anyway. I do love when Zinogres start charging up because it puts their face right where you can reach them with ease. And incidentally, when they're going to fully charge, they are unflinchable. So if you hit them in the face a couple times and they don't flinch, get ready to dodge away or just get away if you're not Adam style. So to discharge a Zinogre, you got to do damage to it. That's really all there is to it. Once it takes a certain amount of damage, it'll get discharged. Though there are some things you can do in place of doing damage to it. For example, getting it in a pit trap will actually count for some of the damage. That was a bad time to get stunned. So sometimes if you've got the Zinogre hurt enough after it's charged up and then get it in a pit trap, it'll discharge as soon as it gets in the pit trap, which is nice. Plus the pit trap helps you do enough damage to discharge it, so really that's two reasons to use a pit trap against them. Also, a Zinogre can only enrage while it's fully charged, so it is the monster against... well, it's one of the monsters against whom Challenger is bad. It's not the monster against whom Challenger is the worst, because that honor now belongs to Lao Shan Lung, who never enrages. But Zinogre is probably number 2 in the monsters against whom Challenger is bad list. Whenever a monster can't enrage under certain circumstances, it makes me sad, because Challenger is my favorite skill, not that this armor set has it. Incidentally, I would say that Zinogre is a pretty good monster against whom to learn to use Adept style. It's got a lot of clear tells, and yet it's also got some combos, so you have to know when not to use Adept dodges as well. And you also need to time them right so that you don't take those Electro Balls to the face. So that's a G-Rank concern, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Electro Balls for that move outside of G-Rank. That's the thing that Zinogres get in G-Rank. They just get more Electro Balls added to their moves. In addition to getting faster and comboing better. Ow. That was not the right place to dodge to. Zinogre actually had a pretty interesting bug that was exclusive to it in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. And that revolved around its back and the breaking thereof. Because the back was breakable at any health percentage, but you would hear the sound and see like the little part breaking visual, like the little pieces coming off, but the part wouldn't look like it was broken until you got the Zinogre down to about 20% HP. And now the Zinogre is enraged. You can tell because it's got blue lightning and little kind of sparky-doos going all over above its back. Which certainly looks cool. I actually really like how enraged Zinogres look when they're leaving an area. Like, with every step, they have some electricity arc to the ground. Which is how it would really go, because they're completing the circuit. So I'm going to go ahead and dung this guy, and hopefully he'll show us what he looks like running away. And wow, I just ran right into that. It's actually one of the things I'm good at, is running straight into Zinogre's Electro Balls, so be prepared to see more of that. Ah, doing its Thunderstorm. That's a move that Zinogre can only use while raging. And now it's running away. So yeah, every time it touches the ground, it gets that little zap. It's just like when you're statically charged and you touch a metal surface. You get the little zap. It's just not nearly as impressive as it is with the Zinogre. And I need to use my Sakura Slash like yesterday if I want to not go down to white. And I went down to white. Thankfully, my ability to run directly into those shocky balls also translates to being able to go right where I need to when it comes time to dodge through them. Sometimes. Zinogre also happens to be one of the only wingless monsters that causes wind. Certainly not the only, but one of the only. When it does its, like, rear up on its hind legs and kind of I lunge forward. This move. If you're next to it, but don't get hit by it, it causes wind. And there we go. He is discharged and therefore out of rage. Ow. We are really going through Mega Potions. But then again, I've been taking a lot of hits that I probably shouldn't have been. Why, yes, I will take that opportunity to hit your face. So when a Zinogre runs and does that little slide afterward, it will almost always, but not always, just almost always start charging afterward if it wasn't charged yet. And if it was charged and is enraged, wow, saved at the last moment by that trap. Yeah, if it was enraged when it did that little run and slide, then it'll often do its backflop move, which is dangerous because it hurts. And here we're probably going to see another charge. Yep. So we put a stop to that and broke the second horn. Hooray. And are we going to see another charge? I bet we are. What do you know? Ah. It was the last charge. This is probably not the greatest time or place, but we'll see. Yep. Yay, the cat gave us our heal buff right before it lost its helmet. I'm going to paint this pupper. And then I'm going to make a tactical retreat so that I can heal and then make some more Mega Potions. So our remaining breaks include both front legs and the back. And we'll certainly try to get at least 2 of those. One of the legs and the back, specifically. Getting both of the legs changes nothing. But getting the back actually makes it more vulnerable to something or other, I think. Hooray, got my red. Ow. Thank goodness for adept style. Now I need to do a little bit more healing. And he's a little angry pup. Which means now is not the time for a pit trap, unfortunately. So just a little fun fact about Zinogre and the story of Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. Zinogre was the flagship of that game, and it was the main threat to Yukumo Village. And the reason for that is, it's not that Zinogres didn't exist in the Misty Peaks, it's that they tended not to come so far down, usually. But then, one day, all of a sudden, they started coming down and causing real problems with the local wildlife and whatnot. And it turns out it was because Amatsu had moved in at the top of the Misty Peaks and was driving all the Zinogre to come further down. So basically, Zinogre being a problem was Amatsu's fault. And with Amatsu being back in this game, it's probably Amatsu's fault again. As for why they were a problem in 3 Ultimate, that's anyone's guess. Ow. And incidentally, Zinogre is one of the monsters who has never missed a game since it first showed up. There's actually a pretty good handful of Gen 3 monsters with that claim. And that was the back break. Other monsters that can make that claim are Devil Joe, Aragon. Wait, no, not Aragon. Aragon wasn't in 4. Who was in 4 that was in Gen 3? Well, certainly at least Devil Joe. Bracky. Dodge too early. I haven't fought Zinogre in a while, so don't quite have the timing down, which is a shame. Also, ow! That is a painful tail slam. I mean, I guess it was a hyper tail slam. Ow. That was a hyper shoulder check, and it didn't hurt nearly as bad. And there's Zinogre's signature back flop. Thankfully, this isn't a Stygian or Frenzied or Apex Zinogre. Because if it was, then it would follow up the back flop by getting up with, like, its big spinning jump attack thing. But instead, it just gives us a free window to attack every time it does a back flop. Except there's that wind effect I was talking about earlier. I always get a little nervous when I accidentally adept dodge the first paw slam, and that was the jumping spin attack that I was mentioning moments ago. And there's a claw break. So now we've got all the breaks that'll do anything for us, other than make the Zinogre more symmetrical. Which I suppose there are some people who would prefer that. Ah. We got zapped. Let's see if we can't make him a little more symmetrical, even though the front legs don't take too much damage. So we are throwing away damage potential by going for the break. But we aren't throwing away symmetry potential. But then again, it's impossible to make this Zinogre symmetrical anyway because the horns don't break symmetrically. And there we go. Symmetrical breaks. If not a symmetrical dog. So let's go ahead and grab this sparkly. Do a little bit of sharpening. Yeah, we still have a pit trap. Don't need to make another one just yet. Look at all these Mufa. That poor Mufa. It didn't deserve that, doggo. You're not doing a good job of protecting these sheep. But then again, I guess you're a wolf wyvern, not a dog wyvern. Taught the dog to roll over. Oh, bet he's gonna charge. Ooh, not this time. But how about this time? That's a charge. I pressed X just a moment too early to get a jump attack there, which is a shame because I would have liked to get a jump attack because I haven't ridden this guy yet. Ooh. I'm glad I fade slashed at the end there. It occurs to me that using my Sakura Slash when I did made my red gauge not last as long as it otherwise would have. When the whole reason I actually even use Sakura Slash is to make sure that I can stay at red gauge. That's close. Ow. And that right there was the slide into backflop that I spoke of earlier. It's almost as though I've fought some Zinogres and know how they move, at least somewhat. That's the somewhat kicking in right there. Ugh. Seeing those balls be giant because it was a like hyper spin thing is always a little exciting. Like, those were as big as the Zinogre. Kind of want to get this guy repainted just so that we can be sure to follow him. Because I am nearly out of healing, and I know for a fact that there's more healing waiting for us at the base camp, and I didn't want to have to die to get there. Thanks, Cat, but it was really unnecessary. Because I'm still going to rest on the bed. I guess I'll just be doing an SP rest. Oh man, I'm wasting my cat having given me earplugs. I'll just grab one of those. I don't expect I'll actually use it. But maybe? We'll see. I do love looking over this cliff. It's gorgeous. Oh, you're gonna yell at me as soon as I get in. Is that it? Hey, I may not have gotten both hits, but I did get to my red gauge. That's the part that mattered right there. Uh-oh. Whew. Close. And he's mad again. Nice backflop, buddy. I want to ride this guy, because riding is a really good way to actually help discharge. Because the mount itself does a lot of damage towards the discharge. Plus, you get to do damage to the Zinogre following the mount. Dang it. Must be a moment too late. So rides and pit traps are basically the most effective ways to discharge a Zinogre. So to get rides, you actually have to get hits. One of the sad realities of this game. And away he goes. Hey, Mufas, how's it going? Thank you, Ludra. Yeah, since we don't see any of the little sparkies going up on the back, that's one of the clearest ways to see that it is not, in fact, enraged. Also, there's a lot less electricity, and it's not as blue. And now it's bluer, and we got the Sparkies coming soon. Where's the Sparkies, Zinogre? You're supposed to be angry. There they are. They aren't a constant, but they do show up. Incidentally, a G-rank Zinogre will almost always finish up these pounds with the big charged one like that, which is about the easiest way to tell whether it's going to do just 2 or 3 pounds. Unfortunately, Thunderlord, you can no longer use the big pound as a signifier of whether or not it's going to stop. But with regular Zinogre, it still works. Buddy, you are so far from hitting anyone, says the guy who was in the process of missing with his longsword at that time. At the time of saying, uh-oh. Well, thank goodness he tried to pound me instead of trying to tail slam me, because the tail slam would have been lethal. I'm a little sad we haven't seen the Zinogre doing his swag walk. He's one of the only monsters that actually has a special walk cycle that he uses to intimidate, I guess. And he's not showing it to us. Maybe it's because he's hyper. And I just cut my own red gauge again. That's okay, I can get it elongated right now. If the Zinogre stays put, which it did. I am glad I dodged out of the way there, because I don't want to get hit by that tail slam anymore. Ow. Better a Thunderbolt than a tail slam. Better a Thunderball than the tail slam. I'm glad I cut the tail, because otherwise we would have taken the slam. He was about to try and call down another thunderstorm. And there goes the charge, possibly for the last time on this Zinogre. I mean, everything's been broken for a while now, so I wouldn't expect it to survive much longer. Oh man, the Ledroth couldn't be bothered to stay alive long enough to actually give us our red gauge. That's fine, we can get red gauge from the dog. Oh, are you going to charge up? What do you know? He's doing an awful lot of charging there. But thankfully, it didn't finish charging. The dog's battery is not yet full. Still no limp, wow. We must have done a really good job of targeting its break points to have gotten all the breaks so long ago and still not even have it limping. Okay. Let's... Oh, we already have one. I could have sworn I used it. Oh, right. It's because they gave me one. Good dog. Angry dog. And with the way it was turning there, I expect it was getting ready to limp away. Yeah, definitely getting ready to limp away. That's a limpy dog. Doesn't get the zaps when it limps, which is sad. Looks so much cooler running with the zaps. And I guess since it's limping, I should not put it in a pit, because that runs the risk of having us kill it while it's trapped. Which then runs the risk of not getting to see part of it when it's dead. And yeah, it definitely would have died in the trap. And it discharges one final time in death. So as an ogre, it's got some really... Its scales really stand out, which is nice. It... like, the fact that there's such a bold division between them, except on this shoulder where they're kind of blurry, makes it... It takes attention away from the fact that the texture itself isn't terribly high res. So yeah, like, the scales look nice. The shells on the paws look pretty great. Though, I will say, this dog doesn't have, like, actual paw pads, which is sad. Yeah. In general, Zinogre looks pretty good. And incidentally, it was developed in Portable Third because Laggy couldn't be in that game because it couldn't swim. Or at least they didn't want to have it in that game because it couldn't swim. So it was designed to be a land alternative to Laggy. And now they exist in the same game, and in 3U they also existed in the same game. And hey, we got a C-Deus thing. Oh yeah, and now Laggy exists in a game where it can't swim, which means that Zinogre's purpose for existing no longer exists. So that's kind of silly. But hey. Zinogre's in this game, and it's just fine, because it is pretty different from Laggy. And that's also going to be it for this episode, so join us next time when we take on the last deviant that we have to take on, and that's Thunderlord Zinogre. See you then, friends.